Good morning to the Minister of Women and Gender Equity of Chile, Mrs. Mónica Zalaquett, and good afternoon to my colleague, Head of Diversity and Inclusion of ABB Group, Heidi Robertson. The Minister is a Chilean social communication businesswoman and politician. Less than 1 month ago, she completed 1 year as a Minister of Women. Heidi has a background from business and human resource management and has held various leadership positions in HR area in the ABB Group, and with almost 3 years as the Group Head of Diversity and Inclusion. My name, Martin Castellucci, Country Holding Officer of ABB Chile and Peru, and this time I have the great honor of moderating this conversation between the Minister Zalaquett and Heidi Robertson to learn a little more about the best practice in matter of equity of both Chile and the ABB Group, closing this activity with a symbolic but relevant commitment between the parties to promote more just and equitable society. I want to start a common question for both. What is the situation of women in the workplace in their respective areas of responsibility in Chile for the Minister and in the ABB Group for Heidi? And what are the gaps for you face? Please, Minister, let's start with you. What is the situation for Chile?
Thank you. First of all, I would start by saying hello to Heidi and all your work team. And thank you very much, Martin, for leading this conversation. The incorporation of women into the workforce in Chile has taken a very long time for several reasons, from the perspective of their entry and their permanence. To begin with, unpaid care and domestic work have socially been assigned to women, resulting in an unequal distribution of these responsibilities. This has led to a situation where, according to the OECD countries, the total paid and unpaid workload of women in Chile far exceeds that of men. In addition, many women still work in environments that have not advanced at the same speed as the current social transformation and development regarding gender equality. These cultural difficulties have made it harder to eliminate certain organizational barriers known as the sticky floor, missing stair, or glass ceiling, preventing women from contributing their full potential to the economic and productive process. This has also led to a very low participation of women in key economic sectors that have traditionally been male-dominated, such as mining, construction, energy, telecommunication, and forestry, and others. No, so, for example, we have few women in technology, and that is the present and the future. Women also face pay gaps in 2 dimensions. First, a global pay gap amounting to almost 28%, which results from women generally working in jobs that offer lower salary. And second, a pay gap that results from a difference in treatment between women and men doing the same job. Although Chile has an equal pay for equal work law since 2009, there are still companies that pay 10% less to women employees in the same position. COVID-19 further evidence and widened the gender gaps in our country. The pandemic set us back more than 10 years in terms of women participation in the workforce, which in January 2020 had reached 53.3% to 41.2% in June of the same year. This happened because women are mostly employed in economic sectors that have been highly impacted by the pandemic, such as tourism, commerce, and service sector. but also due to the temporary closure of the care network. Today, 1,400,000 women of working age in Chile state that they are not working nor even looking for a job due to care responsibilities. Despite this context, I'm convinced that the government's efforts alone are not enough for achieving gender equality in the labor market. The private sector is a key actor for reaching this goal. Only by working together and fostering all possible partnership, we will drive the social changes required for women and men to have equal opportunities, rights, and responsibilities. And that is the way that we are working now in Chile, very, very close to the private sector to ensure that the private sector also understand, for example, that maternity is not only a matter of women. Because we have those problems in Chile, all the cost of maternity is paid by us, and for the other hand, all the responsibilities of care is in our hands. So that difficults a lot our reality in the workplace.
Thank you, Minister. Heidi, please, you answer the question in the case of the ABB Group, please.
Thank you, Martin, and good morning, Minister. It's an honor to meet you here today and to discuss these topics close to my heart and the heart of ABB. So that question, Martin, is a very complex question to answer. And why? Because ABB is a company with more than 105,000 employees across more than 100 countries. So there is no easy or one answer. But maybe let me start with the demographics. Overall, at ABB globally, we have a gender ratio of 26% women and 74% men. We have 22% women in our executive committee, 20% women in senior and middle management, and 14.3% women in senior management. And we define that as Hay grade 1 to 7. We have set a clear target of doubling the women in senior management to 25%. And to do so, we must ensure that we have in place the appropriate measures, both in terms of structures as well as behaviors. Our ambition is to ensure a culture of inclusion with equal opportunities for all, independent of gender, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, abilities, etc. But we know there is a difference between equity and equality, and that we need to take some special measures in order to succeed. And when it comes to the gaps, I think, as the Minister was mentioning, it's key to understand the structural context. And we must not forget that we have a societal component. It's clearly a difference between how gender equality is considered in the Scandinavian countries where I'm situated compared to countries in other parts of the world. And we need to be open to understand and learn from each other, having dialogue like we have here today. And I think through awareness building, commitment and engagement, a lot can be done. And we must keep on iterating the importance of this topic until it becomes a natural part of how we act and interact. Everyone agrees that an inclusive culture is optimal, but how do we contribute to that, and what are the concrete measures that would need to take place? And that's where the strategic direction and clear action plan is critical from a private sector point of view. We need to follow up on our targets, and we need to hold ourselves accountable. And we must also equip our managers and employees with a toolkit and support system so that we ensure a fair and equal treatment of all our employees across the full employee life cycle, from recruitment to promotion, as well as nominations to various programs and initiatives. Awareness around the unconscious bias that affect most often or more the underrepresented groups is key. We are training our managers at ABB on how to interrupt the unconscious bias and become an inclusive leader. And as the Minister was mentioning, equal pay and global parental leaves are two important factors laying the foundation. The D&I agenda is a collective responsibility which requires focus from each and every one of us every day. The tone from the top and leadership role modeling is equally important. And I believe it's also worth mentioning the pandemic, also mentioned by the Minister. And with its virtual nature of work, it has in one way also provided us with an opportunity to be more inclusive and reach further and faster with a message and communication. And it has also somehow extended the collaboration across borders and timelines. For example, those who have challenges with mobilizing and traveling for various reasons can now have an equal seat at the virtual table. That said, we must acknowledge the damages caused by the pandemic and ensure focused efforts to repair and rebuild with the urgency this requires. The recession we have experienced during the pandemic has hit women and underrepresented groups particularly hard. And if we look at research conducted by Catalyst, parents, especially mothers, are under pressure. According to research by McKinsey Global Institute last summer, women's jobs were found to be almost twice as vulnerable to the pandemic as men's jobs. And here is where we all need to collaborate, just like the minister was saying, civil society, private sector, and policy makers. And our dialogue here today, as well as our mutual commitment, are good examples of bringing key stakeholders together towards the common goal. We are facing the same or similar gaps and challenges. And gender equality and inclusion must be a social norm if the world shall succeed in building sustainable societies. And again, my personal mantra that I always repeat, it takes all of us to succeed every day.
Thank you very much, Heidi. Both positions give us a great overview of the current situation. Without a doubt, we have a great challenge still. Now, I want to invite Heidi to ask to the Minister Zalaquett a question directly. Please, Heidi.
Thank you, Martin. So what is the work that the government of Chile is doing through the Ministry of Women and Gender Equity to eliminate the gaps in the workplace?
Señora Ministra.
Now, yes.
Yes, you can hear. Yes, very good.
Thank you, Heidi, for the question. To address these gaps, we are following different lines of actions. First, we are supporting organizations to join the Chilean 3262 standard certification that promotes a cultural transformation within companies so that male and female employees can have a better balance between their work, personal and family life. This certification also contributes to eliminating barriers that prevent women from reaching leadership positions. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate ABB as you have recently completed this certification process. Additionally, our ministry is currently leading the Chilean Gender Parity Index, which has already been joined by more than 100 companies who are adapting their organizational structures and policies to advance gender equality. We have also been actively working with other ministries and the private sector to increase the participation of women in traditionally male-dominated industries, such as construction, mining, telecommunication, energy, as I said before. In this regard, we have made some exciting progress. For example, in the energy sector, female labor participation has significantly increased in the last 3 years, rising from 10% in 2018 to 16% in 2021. Also, in the construction industry, we are promoting a public policy through the Ministry of Housing that mainstream gender into public bids by granting an additional score to companies that have at least 10% female employees. It's a beginning. I would like that they have 30 or 40%, but I think that this cultural transformation have to be done step by step because it's not easy to include everybody with this compromise. Further, to increase the participation of women in decision-making positions, this year we improved our registry of potential female board members, which currently list and include the CVs of 600 talented and skilled women wanting to serve on corporate boards of directors. And we promote the creation of a council for diversity in companies, which is a public-private partnership to help give visibility to women with the qualification to join boardrooms and encourage their participation in this position. In conclusion, through this action, our ministry mission and purpose is that companies believe in the social change we are promoting and voluntarily compromise to these programs. This has already resulted in more and more companies implementing this measure to achieve gender equality within their organizations. And this is besides some policies that we have been impulsing these last 2 years.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Now, I want to ask to the Minister Zalaquett to ask to Heidi Robertson a direct question, please, Minister.
Thank you. Heidi, which initiatives is ABB promoting globally to advance diversity, inclusion, and gender equality?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think maybe starting with what we did last year. So we launched our diversity and inclusion strategy 2030 last year, which was a big step for us. We were coming from a 5-year strategy ending 31st of December 2020, moving into 1st of January this year, looking at the next 10 years, equally positioning us with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we launched our strategy 2030 September last year with a lot of momentum and energy, both internally and externally. And I think that's just to mention the context before I go into the best practices and what we're doing. But we commit to driving diversity of all dimension and inclusion of all in this strategy. And we have built the strategy on 3-pillar framework: governance, making sure we have the structures in terms of processes, policies, and tools in place; inclusive leadership and culture, making sure we enhance the behavioral aspects of both leaders and employees; and last but not least, partnerships, making sure we leverage and maximize the effect of our initiatives and partner up for the change we need to see. And then coming to the good practices, I'm super proud of ABB and our people, seeing the progress that we have made just a little more than a quarter into our new strategy cycle. We have delivered very well on the governance pillar, translating the D&I strategy into execution. Diversity and inclusion forms now part of our business review from top management and is also part of the ESG targets under the sustainability umbrella. And we recently, actually in June, we launched the historical global gender-neutral parental leave program. I'm very proud of that, and it's, in my opinion, a game changer. And we see the inclusion drivers, be it interrupting unconscious bias workshops, flexible working practices, mentor programs, or our approach to talent acquisition and advancement taking center stage. And our employees-driven networks, ERGs, are growing across dimensions and markets, connecting, educating, and inspiring thousands of colleagues. And lastly, I would like to also mention the expansion of the strategic partnerships, established both on a local level and as well on a global level. And here we are today, partnering up for a more inclusive, tolerant, and equitable future for all. And again, not only for ABB, but also for the communities in which we operate and society at large. So I hope that provides a good overview of both our strategy as well as some of the good practices and initiatives at ABB.
Martin, can I ask something else to Heidi?
Yes, yes, please.
Heidi, I would love to know a little more about your global gender neutral parental program, because I think that's what we need really to impose here in Chile. O sea, I said it at the beginning, o sea, maternity in Chile practically is led by us only today.
Yes, and I think that's where we need to really couple up for that change and collaborate. So at ABB, we launched 17th of June this year, the gender neutral. So we don't anymore talk about maternity leave or paternity leave. We talk about parental leave. And we say that there's a primary caretaker and there is a secondary caretaker. So if you're the primary caretaker at ABB, man or woman, through natural birth, surrogacy, or adoption, you will get 12 weeks of paid leave by ABB. And if you're the secondary caretaker, you will get 4 weeks of paid leave. So for sure, in certain parts of the world, that is nothing, only 12 weeks. In other parts, this is a huge game changer because there is nothing existing, even at the governmental level. So of course, in a global company like ours, people are still, massively applauding it, even if there are better conditions by the governments in their countries. But in those countries, and there are so many countries in the world that has nothing or very little, this will be a game changer to include, lift, and keep people, men and women, in the workforce. So we are very proud of this one.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are clearly very good mutual experiences, which we can clearly get to know better and explore for the benefit of all. Now, we want to share with everyone a special moment on whose content we will know after the dissemination of the conversation between the Minister Zalaquett and Heidi Robertson by ABB. And in this dissemination of the symbolic commitment between the parties, and they invite the Minister to carry out telematic awareness-raising activity to allow ABB and its subsidiary to gain insight into matter of prevention of violence against women, empowerment, female leadership, and the key role of women in the industry in which ABB operates. Meanwhile, ABB is committed to promoting the Chilean Standard 3262 in the different ABB subsidiaries globally, as well as the contribution that the certification process means for the company. I now ask you, there is a certify in the screen.
Show.
Now, yes, now I ask you to show the commitment on the screen. Thanks, Luis, with the Minister Zalaquett and Heidi Robertson for ABB to take a screenshot that celebrate the symbolic commitment that both parties assume to fulfill. So now we can look the screen and smile for the picture.
Thank you. Ready. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. With this, I want to thank, on behalf of ABB Chile, the President of the Minister of Women and Gender Equity, Mrs. Mónica Zalaquett, and our Group Head of Diversity and Inclusion of ABB Group, Heidi, for their important contribution to this panel and to have more just and equitable society for everyone. Thanks you.